Yo, what's up? It's your boy Grandma Cookies, checking in the video, and today I'm coming at y'all with something a little special. And usually I don't do these type of anime reviews, but I kind of wanted to do it just because I had to, kind of just remind myself why I don't watch slice of life romance anime. And so I had to watch this anime to kind of understand why I don't like that genre of anime. And this anime it really helped me realize that like even more. And yeah, this anime it's called Domestic Girlfriend. So you hearing that title, you would think like it was gonna be about something crazy, but actually it ends up being like the total opposite of what you think it was going to be. And this anime came out like I think a year or 2 years ago. But when I first seen the title, I really wanted to watch it. And I think a lot of people wanted to watch it. And it was kind of hyped up. But then once people really realized what it was, people were like, yeah, this trash. It's a dumpster fire. And yeah, this anime is a dumpster fire. Like, it really is. And yeah, so I had to kind of just do a review on it to remind myself why I don't watch these type of animes. And yeah, let's get into the review. Alright, Dan, the base plot is about a boy named Netsu who's slowly falling in love with his teacher named Hina, but he knows he cannot be with her. So one day he decides to go to a mixer with his friends, and when he gets to the mixer, he ends up meeting this mysterious and quiet girl named Rui. And they end up talking to each other, and then they end up sleeping together and doing all that. And after that, she told him to promise her not to act like they never knew each other, because she was just doing it just to get rid of her V card. That's all she was doing. She really wasn't trying to, have a relationship or nothing like that. So he promises her, and the following weeks he goes through, his life just trying to balance him falling in love with his teacher, because he's still talking to her every day. And he's also thinking about Rui, the girl that he was with, and everything's like that. And that's pretty much like the base plot. And then after that, he finds out his father is remarrying to this woman, and this woman actually has 2 daughters, and the daughters end up being Hina and Rui, which is which is a typical anime plot or something like that. It's really funny to think about it now that I'm going back and actually doing a review on it. But yeah, that's pretty much the base plot. Like, the base plot is pretty much that alone, and that are like this. Like I said, it's an interesting plot. Even though it's pretty simple, it's still interesting. I kind of liked it, and it would have been really good if they would have been able to execute it the correct way. But we'll talk about that later. And yeah, and now the characters in this story were, I say, they were pretty one-dimensional. None of them really got any meaningful character development, in my opinion. And that brings me to the MC, Netsu. He every time I felt like he got character development, they'd take away some of his character development so the story could get more drama and add more. Because some points in the story, he's trying to choose between Ryu and Hina, and at some point he ends up choosing Hina, and he ends up getting with her. But then something crazy just happens with his character. He either does something stupid, or he'll just, I don't know what he'd do. He just do random stuff, and it doesn't make sense for his character, especially since he'll claim he learned from something, but then he'll go back and he'll do that same thing again and ruin his relationship. And yeah, for the next character, Hina now, her character, they tried to make it seem like her character was the most complex, but I think a lot of her character development was just filled with a bunch of tragedy. That's what it was filled with, in my opinion. I think her character, everything about her character was just they just wanted the audience to feel bad for her, but I didn't really feel bad for her in none of her moments. Like, at the beginning, they tried to make it seem like she was being abused by her teacher, but it actually turned out he wasn't. Then they tried to make it seem like she was struggling to choose between Netsu and her teacher, which one she was going to be with. After she finally chose Netsu, now she's struggling. She's like, am I going to be with Netsu but make my sister mad, Rui and the MC had something going on, so she kind of don't want to, she don't want to mess over her sister, but she also don't want to ignore Netsu, so she's struggling with it. And then once she decide to finally say just F Rui and go along with Netsu's plan to get together and stuff, once they do that, they end up getting caught. And then once they get caught, now we supposed to feel bad for her, because now she got to leave the school and she got to go off to somewhere else so she can keep her reputation. People won't talk about her, which is kind of like, who cares? But she runs off, and then we supposed to feel bad for her then when she runs off, because she's leaving behind the person she loved. But it really never made sense to me. That's why I could never feel for her character. Her character was probably the most annoying character behind Netsu himself. That's like the only other people. And yeah, and then we get to probably my favorite character in the series behind some of the side characters. But this is probably my favorite main character, and it's Rui. Rui, she got a lot of she didn't really get a lot of development, especially towards the ending part, because they was really focused on Hina and Netsu's relationship. So she was just there floating around. Once the story needed her character to create more drama, that's when they kind of brought her character out of the void and brought her back into the story, because legit, like 3 episodes, she really had nothing to do. She was just there. And then once she once they really needed her character, that's when they brought her, like I said, they brought her out the void, and she finally became part of the story. And towards the end, she ends up deciding to get with Netsu, even though she knows Netsu is in love with her sister, but she decides to end up doing this. And for me, I feel like that did not fit Rui's character development, especially what you had showed us up to this point. She at this point, she was supposed to be hating the MC, not liking him, but then like not even a few hours later, she's already talking about she's falling in love with the MC once again. And it really never made sense to me. And it was just a lot of crap. I didn't really like the characters in this series. Like, this probably some of the worst characters I had to deal with in anime, especially when it comes to reviews. These probably some of the worst characters. But that's all my opinion. And yeah, and next thing is the notes I took watching this, and I took a lot of notes when watching this anime, because it had a lot of bad things about it, and it had some good things I liked. It very little, but it had something. And yeah, and one of the first things I wanted to kind of talk about in my notes was, I wrote down like the intro. The intro is actually pretty decent. It sounds like a Bleach outro. Bleach, their outros and how it be sounding. And yeah, the MC was really annoying, and he was generic. And I kind of talked about that at the beginning with his character, but yeah, his character, like I said, he was super generic, and like he was like practically every other anime protagonist. Other than he was just a crybaby. That's the only difference I could really see. He did the most generic thing. He wrote stories, novels. But like I said, I already talked about that, so there's no point in even staying on that topic. And another thing, and this kind of was like a big thing for me when it came to rating this anime and giving it its ratings. This was the animations. The animation in this anime was I say it was borderline acceptable. The only thing that I hated about this anime was that it had a bunch of still images. Especially, you will notice it towards the end, like when the characters are kissing, they'll just stay there. Like, they'll be frozen in time, like we looking at an image. But it's like, I don't know, I didn't really like that. The still images really threw me off in the anime. Like if you gonna have still images, at least use them wisely. Don't just put them in all the important scenes. Like towards the ending, they legit start putting still images in the important scenes where we really need to see stuff. And another thing is, I found myself liking the side characters over the main cast of characters, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, like, this is his character name, Masaki, if I'm saying that right. And he was he worked at a bar or kind of like a cafe, and he was a former yakuza. And his story was way more interesting. Like they even gave like little back shots of his character and flashbacks. And his character was more interesting than Netsu and all the other characters. And the reason I say this is because every time we got to see the main cast of characters on screen, they never really got any true character development. But every time we got to see the side characters, they had some type of form of character development. And that's why I think I prefer the side characters over the main cast of characters, purely because of the character development and how it happened. Because we got, like I said, we got to see a lot of character development from the main cast of characters, but we also got to see them have a bunch of setbacks because of like I said, the story was kind of, they was just used as devices and plot devices in the story. Their character development really never meant anything. Like if it benefited the story or made the story longer, their character development would have went down the drain. No, it really didn't matter. But for the side characters, like I said, we really never got to see a lot of them, so their character development was more meaningful, and that's why I particularly like the side characters in this story over the actual main cast of characters. And another thing I wanted to speak on, and it's kind of like, it bothered me throughout the show, and I really don't like this about a lot of other anime, and this is, why are the characters drawn to the MC? Because you see Netsu, the only special quality I can think about Netsu that he has is that he writes novels. That's the most interesting thing about his character. Other than he's a nice guy, other than that, and I always wonder and ask, like, how or why are all the characters drawn to him specifically? Like, think about it, like, why is Hina drawn to him over all the other characters? Like, even Hina's like teacher boyfriend, him and her backstory made more sense than Netsu's and her backstory. Like, Netsu used to go up to the rooftop to write poems and random stuff like that, and she just happened to come up there and read his poems, and she said they was really good, and that's how she fell in love with him. But the difference is with her teacher, when her teacher, like when she was younger, she was getting bullied and stuff like that, and she was feeling really down. Her teacher used to come to cheer her up and make her happy, and I can feel like that's more meaningful than what Netsu, like, he just wrote poems and they was somewhat good. Like, it really never made sense to me why, like, why Netsu specifically, like, why all the characters was drawn to him. Even some of the other characters, like, he didn't have nothing special about him. He was a regular guy. I guess since he's MC, it's supposed to make sense. But yeah, it was just a nitpick of mine that I was thinking about, and I kind of wanted to get off my chest because I was I always think about that when I be watching certain shows, and I see that the MC is very bland, but all the characters seem to be drawn to him for some weird reason. And yeah. And another big thing for me about this story that kind of ruined my enjoyment was that some of the characters felt inconsistent, or to put it simply, I felt like the drama was very artificial in this show, in this anime, and they kind of used it. They used the characters to kind of force that and push whatever they was trying to push onto the other characters, so you'll have more drama. And I say the most two inconsistent characters was easily Netsu and Hina, because their relationship was just like, it was just filled with a bunch of useless drama that really wasn't caused for. Because at one point the characters would be happy, but then at some points Hina would be super happy, but then she'll just get easily angered, and then when she get easily angered, the next day she's back happy like nothing ever happened. And you could say that that's a time skip between when it happened, but the show really doesn't really show you that it's been a time skip, so it really doesn't make sense for her to be that mad. And one of the examples I had was that when it was like, I think it was New Year's Eve, and they was celebrating, and she ends up getting mad at Netsu for some random crap. He tried to kiss her or whatever, and she gets mad, so she runs off, and Netsu gets one of his friends to capture her so he can talk to her and they can actually talk it out, because he didn't know what he did, and she won't say nothing, so he captures his friend. And you thinking about it, she's already angry, so you capture her against her will when they make her more angry. But the way they used it for her not to be angry was that a kid gave her a lollipop, so she calmed down and she was willing to talk it out with Netsu. So I was like, wait, so we went through all this for no reason. What was the point of going through this drama if it was all going to be solved from a lollipop? I don't know. It happens in the show. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just nitpicking or what, but it didn't make sense to me. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about. Now the ratings. For characters, I gave it a 4 out of 10. The reason I got this a 4 out of 10 is because the characters were very one-dimensional. Like I said earlier, they felt very shallow, and also they felt very inconsistent. There was a lot of moments where the characters were to do stuff. They did stuff out of character just to push the plot or to just create fake artificial drama. So yeah, and for the plot, I gave it a 7 out of 10. And the reason why I gave the plot something this high was because it was actually, the plot is interesting. A boy falling in love with a teacher, and the teacher happened to become his sister. That's it's an interesting plot, depending on how you take that. It's interesting to me personally, so that's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. The plot was actually very interesting, and it wasn't amazing, but it was something that you could give to the audience. You can give to people and they'll want to watch it. Like it's a very good thing. And for the world building, I gave it a 3 out of 10. And the reason why I gave it such a low score is because it didn't have a lot of, like I said, it just didn't have a lot of world building, and they skipped a lot of the story and just the places. Like they had like a school festival. They legit skipped the school festival, and they just put like a whole, they legit just cut through it, and they showed us just the highlights and then played music behind it. That's literally what it was. And now I know this came from a manga, and the manga probably was super long, so they had to try to fit all of it into an anime. But that still doesn't explain why the anime did, like, it didn't have good world building. That has nothing to do with it. Like, if your source material is either too long or too short, as an anime production company, you still have to try to give the people a quality product. You just don't give them no trash and be like, here, we didn't have, and then make the excuse that we didn't have no good source material. Because if you had good source material, just don't make the show. That's just all. It's that simple. And yeah, and for the execution of the plot, like I said, the plot was very interesting, but the execution, I think, was done very poorly. That's why I gave it a 4 out of 10. Like it just had a lot, like I said, it had a lot of artificial moments that kind of just like a lot of characters, they act out of character to push the plot. And even some of the other things would just be very lazy, like the way Hina and Netsu got caught and their relationship got revealed to the public was such a stupid way, or it was such a lazy way to do it. And the way it did it was they was on a vacation for school, and I think it was New Year's Eve, and they was taking pictures. They was in a hotel room because they was having a little moment, and some people was taking pictures of the fireworks, and somebody happened to turn around towards the hotel and take a picture. And out of all the rooms in the hotel, they happened to zoom in on Netsu and Hina. And not only that, but they just all they could see was two figures, one with brown hair and one with light brown hair, and they assumed that was Hina and Netsu, which did not make sense to me. It didn't make sense. It literally just, you did all that just to reveal. You could have went a different way to reveal that, or at least if they did this in a manga, and you could at least try to give us more material to make it make sense, because it did not make sense. Some random photographer happened to turn around, not take pictures of the fireworks, but the building. It's nighttime. They literally, everybody's looking at the fireworks and somebody happened to turn around, take a picture. They see these two figures and be like, wait, this is a teacher? And this a student? This is ridiculous. Like, that's literally how the people was thinking. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I don't know if I'm just being, pessimistic or what, but yeah. And for the animation, I gave it a 4 out of 10. The animation, it was like I said, it was borderline acceptable or sellable. It really was. It wasn't nothing crazy. In some moments, it felt like I was watching a hentai because it had a bunch of still images, and if you watch that, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it had a bunch of still images in some of the most important moments in the story. Like it have so many still images. Like I remember one, like later down the line, like this is the one I remembered, was like Netsu and Hina was kissing after they made up and stuff, and the image was legit frozen. Now I get that this was the I was watching the uncensored version, so some crazy stuff probably happened that I did not see, but still, why would you just leave a still image there? Like I said, you're trying to give your, I get that I get like the animation company didn't have a lot to work with, but that don't mean you just give your audience a horrible product. You still got to give us something that's acceptable. And like I said, the still images, it did make a lot of sense for me. And like I said, even doing some of the less R-rated scenes, it still had other still images. Like some moments where the kids would just be standing there and they'd just be frozen and it's an image. I'm like, come on, man, you can still, like, if you're gonna have still images in your show, make sure you use them wisely. Use them when you really need to, and you're trying to save money. Don't just use them just randomly or throughout the whole entire show, because it's practically, it's not gonna be good. And yeah, and for the overall rating, I give it a 4.4 out of 10, which this is my lowest rating I ever gave a show. And like I said, the reason why I even gave it this low, because it was really bad. In the show, I think the show had way more potential. It could at least got up to a 7 out of 10. It could have got up to that point, but I think the execution of the plot was done so badly, mixed in with the world building and the animation, it just ruined everything, in my opinion. And yeah, that's why I gave it a 4.4 out of 10. And yeah, and should you watch? I don't think you should watch. If you're looking for a good drama romance anime, there's thousands of more out there that's way better than this. And but if you're still interested in the plot, then you should watch it. Don't let this review or nobody else review on the anime determine if you're gonna watch it, because at the end of the day, when you watch anime, it offers something, even if it's really bad. Because for me, I watched a lot of bad anime, and this is one that's included. But at the end of the day, I can always look back and be like, I watched the anime. It was horrible. It was bad, but I can at least laugh on it and just reminisce about how bad it was. And yeah, I'm gonna stop all the rambling. This is pretty much it for the video. I'm back. I'm uploading. Hopefully I stay consistent. If I don't this time, I'll probably quit YouTube. But yeah, that ain't nothing. And yeah, man, it's pretty much your grandma cookie. It's your boy Grandma Cookies. You already know. Leave a like, hit the subscription button if you want more content, anime reviews like this, manga reviews and stuff like that. And yeah, man, it's your boy Grandma Cookies. And I'm out.